All right, let's take a look at our math warm-up today. I have 3 problems for you to complete. So go ahead and pause your video and work those on a dry erase board or a sheet of paper. So hopefully the first thing that you noticed with these 3 problems is the fact that we do not have the same denominator in any of them. So hopefully you went about creating equivalent fractions with common denominators so that you could actually add the fractions. So let's see what we should have gotten for our answers. So for our first one, 1/2 plus 1/4 would equal 3/4. And number 2, 2/3 plus 1/4 would equal 11/12. And number 3, we had 1/3 plus 3/4 plus 1/12 would equal 14/12, or if you converted to a mixed number, 1 and 2/12. So notice we created a common denominator of 4 with our first problem, 12 with the second, and 12 with the third. Could we have created a different common denominator? Yes. So if you had multiplied the 2 denominators here, you could have created a denominator of 8 and then had a different response for that particular one. So let's take a look at our math message today. You will notice that I have what's called an area model here, which usually when we do those, we have something with multiplication going on. So you'll notice that I have a problem over here that says 28 times 6. So here is my question. How does this area model represent 28 times 6? So hopefully you're thinking about when you first learn to multiply and use the partial products method, which is when we take the numbers and we decompose them. So if we look at the number 28, if we decompose that, it becomes 20 plus 8, and we have 6, which of course we don't need to decompose because it already is so. So we have our 6 here. So basically what can be done with this math message is we create the area model and then we multiply 6 times 8 and we place our answer in that particular rectangle, which gives us 48. And then we multiply the 6 times the 20, which gives us 120. We then take our 120 and our 48 and we add them together and we get 168 for an answer. And this is doing the problem with what's called an area model, just to remind you what that is called, and breaking those numbers apart. So our lesson today is multiplication of mixed numbers, part 1. The reason we're doing this lesson today is all of you need to be able to draw and use area models to multiply a mixed number by a whole number or fraction. And how we're going to do that is we're going to take the skills and strategies that we learned to multiply with partial products, and we're going to apply those to multiply mixed numbers. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the first problem that I've set up and completed so you can see how I went about that. So we had 4 2/3 times the whole number 7. So what we're going to do is think about that 4 2/3 in a way that we could decompose it just like we would a whole number. So I'm going to take the 4 and I'm going to place it here. And the 2/3 is going to go here. So basically 4 plus 2/3 would give us 4 and 2/3. So I've decomposed that mixed number. And then I've placed my whole number 7 on the right side. Then I multiplied 7 times 2/3 and I got 14/3. And I took 7 times 4 and I got 28. So we take the 28 and the 14/3 together, and that gives us 28 and 14/3. Now we probably want to turn that into a number that is a little bit more friendly. So we need to be thinking about how many 3/3 can we take from 14/3. All right, so hopefully you figured out that you could take 4. So I would have a much friendlier number of 32 and 2/3 as my final answer for that problem. So why don't you try the second problem that I have there, which is 2 1/8 times 4. So see if you can set that one up like I did with our first example. Pause your video and come on back to check to see how you did. Okay, so you'll notice that I took the 2 1/8 and I broke that up here and here, and I placed my 4 here, and I multiplied 4 times 1/8 and got 4/8, and 4 times 2 and got 8. Put those together, gives me a total of 8 and 4/8. I also know that 4/8 is equal to 1/2, so this would be another way to write that mixed number, 8 and 1/2. How did you do? All right, so what happens when we have a problem that has got 2 factors that are both mixed numbers? How do we set that up? So let's take a look at how we would go about that. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to take the 1 3/4. I'm going to decompose that. So on the top of my area model, I'm going to write a 1 here and a 3/4 here. Then we're going to take the 2 1/3. We're going to decompose that. So I'm going to place a 2 on the right side and a 1/3 for that bottom row. So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to multiply 2 times 3/4, which is equal to 6/4. 2 times the whole number 1 is 2, of course. And then we're going to jump down to that bottom row. 1/3 times 3/4 is going to give us 3/12. And 1/3 times 1 is going to give us 1/3. So what do you notice about our fractions now? Hopefully you're thinking they don't have the same denominator, and how am I going to add them, right? So we have a 4 here, a 3, and a 12. So what we need to do is come up with a common denominator, and the one that would make the most sense for those 3 fractions would be the number 12. So I'm going to convert each of the fractions that don't have a denominator of 12 to a denominator of 12. So that means our first one's going to turn into 18/12. Our second one here is going to turn into 4/12. So now they all have the same denominator, and I'm going to take those fractions now and add them all together. So we've got 18/12 plus 4/12 plus 3/12. Which is going to give us 25/12. And then we're going to grab that whole number back up there in our area model. We're going to add that. So now we have 2 and 25/12. But when we look at that problem, that's not a very friendly number. So we want to convert that to a friendlier number. So how many 12 twelfths can I take from 25 twelfths? Would be 2. So we're going to take those wholes and add them to our whole number 2, which is going to give us 4. And then we have 1/12 left over. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now it's going to be your turn. So I have a mixed number problem with 2 factors that are mixed numbers. I would like for you to try to figure out if you can work this problem yourself. So go ahead and pause your video and complete that problem. Come on back when you're finished. Okay, so let's see how you did. Look at how I set up the problem here, taking 3 on the left, 1/6 on the right at the top, 2 on the right side, 2/3 at the bottom right, multiplied those out, got 2/6, multiplied 2 and 3, got 6, or sorry, 2 times 1/6 was 2/6, and 2 times 3 was 6, 2/3 times 1/6 was 12/18, and 2/3 times 3 was 6/3. And then I noticed I had a denominator of 6, 3, and 18. So again, we need to change denominators. The one that makes the most sense would be 18. So I changed 2/6 to 6/18 and 6/3 to 36/18. I took those 3 fractions and I added them together. Got 44/18. Went back, grabbed my whole number, added that in, got 6 and 44/18, and then changed that to a friendlier number of 8 and 18. 8/18. That one's hard to say. How did you guys do? All right, so let's summarize what we've done today. We learned that we can use knowledge of partial products, multiplication, to multiply mixed numbers. And we also learned that we can use area models to help break the problem apart to multiply. Super job, guys. See you in class.